Hello, everybody. Sitting here with Gunnar from Nutrishop.
Yeah.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. I see you're doing a lot of things for the community around here, trying to put people on vacation, which is awesome.
Yeah,
definitely. I think everybody needs a break and a vacation, especially like from the Nutrishop. It's whoever loses the most weight, is it? Or body fat percentage?
Well, we have these transformation challenges, and one of the things that we really try to do is to teach people that weight isn't everything. I always use the example of like, hey, if you're only interested in losing 10 pounds, I'll give you a diuretic and take away your water, and tomorrow you'll be 10 pounds lighter,
Yeah.
So weight isn't really what we focus on. We focus on making sure that you're actually losing body fat. We also give you points for gaining muscle and then reducing your body fat percentage, because that's what really is making you healthy.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. So. Especially losing water weight, your joints start to get really crunchy.
Right. Yeah.
I like to call it.
Yeah.
One thing I really wanted to ask you about was I see that you are a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know what you did, because I hear it and it's veteran owned, so that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I served in the North Dakota Army National Guard from, this is how old I am, from 97 till 2005. Yeah. So
you're like 30s, late 30s?
No, I'm actually 41.
Oh, right on.
So yeah, okay. Been around the block a little bit, but so served over in Iraq in 2003, 2004, right, kind of at the beginning of that conflict there. So
yeah, Desert Storm, right?
After Desert Storm,
right after
so
Desert
it was
Storm.
Operation Iraqi Freedom at that time.
How was that?
Oh, fun. No, it was what it was, It was
crazy.
Yeah, at the time, it's you kind of reflect back to those times, and you're like, it wasn't. Right now it's like it's really typical for somebody to serve for a year overseas, and at the time we were like, are we going to be here for 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
3 years,
2 months, and then all of a sudden you're there for, an entire year. So yeah, it was not always what we expected. So
is it like is it like a step back from reality? It's so crazy that you just don't really feel normal there when you're in something like that.
Yeah,
like the smell, the environment, like the just looking out. And
yeah, it was definitely a culture shock. Even more so coming home. I guess that's what I've more concentrated on. I guess is I was just talking to a buddy of mine who I think kind of going through some of the things that I've gone through in my past about readjusting to being home and stuff like that. So
yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely culture shock going there, and definitely a big one when you get back.
Yeah, I had on my buddy Chad Mercy. He's a National Guard recruiter, and he told me like a lot of the guys that have problems adjusting when they come back home is like you wake up in the morning with an immediate purpose. Like you're used, you got a job. It's just easy to fall in line like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I mean, these are things we really can't, as civilians, really nail on the head because we haven't been a part of it. But more and more, they're becoming a little more comfortable, the veterans, like talking about it so we can understand it, and support them also in understanding like what they went through and stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes it's even, it's not always even what you expected. It's like you said, it's coming home and not having that purpose anymore, not having the camaraderie. Sometimes it's just the feeling of coming back and feeling like you didn't do enough, and you did all of this stuff to get to this certain point, and you don't have this feeling like you made a difference or saved a life or something like that, and you beat yourself up on that for the next 10 or 15 years. And,
yeah.
So there's definitely things that you have to adjust to when you get home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry for bringing all that up, man, but
no, it's I'm comfortable with it. That's the thing.
Good.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it at this point.
That's good. Yeah. It's man, it's a big it's a big issue these days, mental health in all areas of civilians and the military. So
Yeah.
that's something I'd like to get to a little more on the subject of in the future.
Yeah.
Invite some people down and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think, kind of came to my mind about that is I think everybody can experience that. They don't necessarily have to be veterans, but, I remember somebody saying that, and this is just talking about men. I'm sure females feel the same way, but you feel like you're living like a quiet life of desperation because you just don't have a purpose, and so you search for it. And something about leaving that environment, if you feel like something wasn't fulfilled, it's really hard to get yourself to relax and take life as it comes instead of constantly searching for a bigger meaning. I'm not saying that you shouldn't search for a higher purpose, but like just don't beat yourself up over it every day. Like life will come and your answers will come to you. Just relax. It's easier said than done.
It's so hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Just to like roll with life and try and find that purpose. Some people get so eager. It's just it does start to beat them up, and they start trying too much and get depressed and beat themselves up. And then they become angry at themselves. And what is the word I'm looking for? They get they get bitter.
Yeah.
They carry it around with them on their shoulders, and then you can feel it. You're like man, they just get nasty.
Yeah, you got to find an outlet for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And the gym is an absolute awesome outlet for that.
It is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we all have different ways of dealing with it. I guess I saw some of the people that I had come home with, how they were dealing with it. I think some of them, whether or not they addressed it or not, I just knew that there were some unhealthy ways of dealing with it or masking it or however you want to address it. But yeah, I knew right from the get-go I didn't want to go down that path. So
alcohol, drugs,
not
violence. Yeah.
And not saying that it was fixed right away. I mean, it took me several years to kind of get over it, get over the tensions I felt about it and stuff. So
yeah. Oh man, everybody doesn't have that personality to like deal with it. Mm-hmm. They just shove it under the rug and act like it's okay, and then their life is just getting destroyed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I got some friends who came back from the military, and they have PTSD, and they take medication for it and stuff.
Sure.
But we talk about it and stuff. And when we go out drinking, it doesn't come out like it used to. It's not like it used to. Like they just get crazy and they just start telling us all these stories and stuff. Now they're more civilized. Like they can have a good time and they're happy, and it's not like buried in them anymore. It's kind of nice, and it took a lot of work though, like therapy, medication, and then just having an outlet to their friends, being able to trust their friends. Mm-hmm. Like if they need someone to talk to, not just like, I don't know, man, you're going to think crazy of me and you're not going to understand.
It is. It's weird. I remember, it's so many years ago now, which is crazy. It never feels that long ago, but just the things that you learned about what people knew when you came home was surprising. You kind of always thought, everybody knew anything, and they're like, we heard you guys got mortared on such and such date. And I was just like, we got mortared like every other day. It wasn't that, when you first get there, you're diving, into a hole, a foxhole or whatever, because you're getting mortared in the next, months into it. Like, you're like, unless it's right outside my tent, I'm not even getting out of my cot, because you just get used to it,
That's the thing with the media too. The news, they only tell Americans what they want to hear.
Yeah.
They're not going to spread like all of what you guys did, and that's why we don't have really an understanding. Like, especially Hollywooding it up with the movies.
Right.
There's a lot of kids that are joining the military because they think they're going to get in and then do some badass shit because they're feeling like badasses, and they're going to, become the next sniper and have this movie, but then they end up, getting a desk job or just losing their shit and not being able to take it. They're not mentally there.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
It's a mind game.
Yeah. And speaking of movies, a lot of people didn't like this movie, but I honestly thought, like, I kind of connected with that movie. It was the movie Jarhead. I'm like,
oh yeah,
there's a psychology to that movie that, it's that they went through all of this and they came out at the other end and didn't feel fulfilled by it. Thought that, they just, everything, you train for this thing, you have this mindset of what it's going to be, and it's not exactly what you want it to be, and then you have to deal with that for the rest of your life, and you feel incomplete because something didn't happen exactly the way you had it in your head. But I think, again, that can happen in a lot of other aspects of life.
Yeah.
But
in military, absolutely.
That one, yeah, one, that's the way. So when people think, your PTSD about it, or your what you're recovering from it is a certain thing, it's kind of funny because I always think back about when I first went to the VA clinic and I got asked, because I was going through some, going to a therapist about, some PTSD that I was going through.
Yeah.
And one of the first questions on a questionnaire was if I was having, visions of jungle warfare. And I was like, excuse my language, I was in a fucking desert. Like, what the hell are these questions from 1969 or what's going on here?
Getting out of Vietnam.
Yeah, I'm like, this is 2005, and so it was, there was a disconnect that I felt disconnected right within the first 5 minutes of that happening, and I was like, okay, nobody's gonna know what I went through. So
yeah, being in the desert too, it's very flat.
Mm-hmm.
And then so open.
Yeah.
You feel like everything is coming at you from any angle because you're in the open.
Yeah.
And you're not in a jungle. You're not like secluded.
Right.
Like coverage and stuff like that. So yeah, that aspect too. That would be insane.
Yeah.
I don't even play war video games. I can't do the first person shooter game. I get like motion sickness and stuff.
Fair enough. I don't think you're missing out on a whole lot. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's cool, man. You came back, you found your place, and you told me earlier you love it, and in the community. Where are you from exactly?
I'm from Bismarck, North Dakota.
Bismarck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. So. And what brought you here? The good old Black Hills.
Yeah. Well, speaking of kind of dealing with the inner demons of coming back, I did a lot of stuff that most people probably would think is. You have a really weird background.
Yeah.
I came home and ended up there's a long story to it, but I think I was dealing with a lot of stuff, and I had a degree my degree is actually in psychology, and coincidentally one of the things that you need in order to become a dolphin trainer was a degree in psychology or something along those lines.
That is so crazy.
Yeah. So I moved down to Florida and became a dolphin trainer for a couple of years. I think I don't think I had the patience to work with to be a personal trainer. I guess maybe I didn't have the patience for humans, but I definitely did for animals. And there was some definite healing that I got from swimming with dolphins every day, and
they're crazy smart.
Yeah, I give all the people down there that I worked with and those animals for helping me through a lot of that stuff. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's animals are therapeutic.
Totally,
it is. That's why these days those people can have the those dogs that they can take on to the movies or like
the therapy dogs.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. Yeah, I take my dog everywhere if I could. So yeah, I take him to the shop every once in a while. But he sheds a lot, and I have black shelving, and like his hair is everywhere, and not everybody wants to come in. And
what kind of dog you got?
He's he looks like a yellow lab, but he's German Shepherd and a black lab cross, but he looks like a yellow lab. So
right on.
Yeah,
sweet. So dolphin trainer.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
and then you came back here, and then you just.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Actually, So, like I said, I was still dealing, I think, with some inner demons about, what I had done. One of the things that I had a hard time dealing with mentally is having, being on convoys and having to have at a point when we first got there, the main blast through Iraq was kind of done, and so we'd be on these roads and we let kids come up to us and we'd trade them stuff and we'd talk to them and we'd give them, food out of our MRE boxes and stuff like that. And then they started figuring out things that we needed, and they'd come and sell us stuff on the side of the road.
Yeah.
They'd sell us,
DVDs.
pop. Yeah, Fanta. They'd sell us Fanta.
Ooh, the orange Fanta.
Yeah, exactly.
So good.
Yeah. Never seen Fanta before. I thought that maybe that was in, is that an Iraqi soda? I don't know. But yeah, anyway, so they'd sell us stuff. They'd sell us blocks of ice because otherwise we were drinking water that was 120 degrees. It's not very refreshing. So they'd sell us blocks of ice and stuff like that, and they'd just be standing on the side of the road with this huge block of ice just melting at 120 degrees, standing barefoot on cement, or pavement.
Yeah.
Just like all of us, like we can feel the heat, just baking off of the cement. So anyway, but there was a point where sometimes the insurgents were actually like using kids as a toll, as a protective cover or a bomb, or or they'd recruit the kids or force the kids to have weapons and stuff like that. So like overnight,
that shit's real.
Yeah, and overnight, where we used to have, we used to play with the kids and talk to them every time we stopped on a convoy just to hang out with them and trade and stuff like that. Now I'm having to point a gun at a kid because he's getting too close to me.
Yeah, my cousin got a bunch of shrapnel all over the side of him, and he got out for about probably 6 months, but he went back, which is crazy. And it was just a kid walking down the street, and they had a convoy. They were going down, and the Humvee in front of him blew up, but they got a bunch, and he just got shrapnel on the side of him. Mm-hmm. And he's like, man, you're so lucky you didn't get in the military, because I did want to go in, mm-hmm. and like when I moved here to Rapid in 2005, I was trying to, mm-hmm. but I didn't. I didn't have my high school diploma, mm-hmm. so I went back to school at like 25, 26, and I graduated when I was 27.
Okay.
From my high school diploma, so I could go to the military.
Heck yeah.
And then they were like, "Oh, you're too blind. Sorry." And I had really bad eyes. Right. So I was like, "Oh, well, at least you guys got me to get my high school diploma."
Could have told me that earlier.
I know, it's so much work,
right? Yeah.
But yeah, man. It's so crazy. Like all that stuff you get to see, and then come back and then just be Gunnar here.
Right now.
But it's good, man. You're doing something really awesome here in the community, getting people motivated to better themselves, running Nutrishop.
Yeah.
And how did Nutrishop fall into your hands, man?
Yeah. Well, I was running health clubs for a number of years. I was an area manager for a group of health clubs, and there just came a time where I felt like all I was doing was a business aspect, and the reason I got into fitness to begin with was because I wanted to help people.
Yeah.
And so just trying to find the right path for me, and just knowing that I was kind of burned out on the health club scene. I was really burned out on that stuff, and I wanted to really be hands-on helping people, and that's where kind of came across Nutrishop, which at the time, which is a year and a half ago, it was a license to have a Nutrishop. It wasn't a franchise or anything. You just had a license to have their name and everything. So, and they just kind of helped me and said, here's where I want to be. I love these Black Hills, man. This place is so cool.
It is beautiful.
There's so many things to do here. It's such a, yeah. And so I was like, if I open one, I want to come here, and I conned my wife into telling her it's so much warmer here than it is in Bismarck, which it is. I will remind her it is nicer here.
Yeah, you're coming from North Dakota, so yeah, it's like slightly better.
It's supposed to be 50 degrees today, and it's January. I'm like, can't argue with that. So
yeah, feels pretty good though.
Yeah. Oh, it feels awesome. So yeah, this is where we wanted to do it.
Good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. like I said, it's a pretty tight community too.
Mm-hmm.
It's and fitness with the culture of fitness, a gym, bodybuilding, whatever, it is blowing up big time. It is becoming more. Everybody's getting into it big time. So and it is cool to see. There are some assholes that get into lifting and fitness and stuff that their head gets so crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of people around here doing it for the right reasons. Most of it is, man, just like that, like the therapy of lifting and, you know, and being involved in something, because it's like a community. You get to go to Nutrishop, run into somebody, BS about, you know, what you're doing, being a club member of a gym also, you know, you're like part of that club.
Yeah.
And it's a way for everybody to, you know, as a community to get together.
Yeah, it's definitely a culture thing. Yeah, and we try and do that at Nutrishop. Is, you know, we're always using hashtag Nutrishop family, because we really want people to feel like you're not alone in this. Like, you know, you have a friend, you have family that want to support you and are here for you. So
absolutely, like when I say online, like Black Hills Podcast, we, stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's just me, but I say we because it's me and the community. So that's where I've involved that whole we.
I understand that 100%.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just me sitting here, and I'm like, oh, great.
Yes, exactly. And so you start building that culture and realize, like, hey, you know, Gunnar isn't the only one at Nutrishop, helping or cheering you on. It's, you know, everybody in our little, you know, social network, and you see other people in the gym with our shirts on, and you're like, okay, that guy's Nutrishop family. You know, this person, that person, and just trying to build a culture of, you know, support and stuff like that.
Yeah. What was it? I used to work at Anytime Fitness. Man, from like 2011 to like 2014.
Okay.
Right when I lost my vision, I had to quit.
Okay.
And it was a culture. We dealt a lot with complete nutrition back then.
Okay.
And I've had friends who worked there at the time, and they were kind of stipulant on like being part of the community too.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you guys own Complete Nutrition. We could do a lot, but it just, I don't know. It's so hard when it's corporate to get involved in the community.
Yeah, definitely.
And having a challenge like going on vacation, that is dope.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
Giving you some motivation to stick to your goals and stuff like that. But yeah, it and especially for you know, for our little shop, you know, it really is just my wife and I, and we're moving into a place that we've never been. We've never lived in Rapid City. We moved here a year and a half ago, so trying to, you know, build that community in a community we didn't know a single person. We knew our realtor, and that's just because she, you know, we just had met her. So yeah, it was definitely, it takes time, you know, to build that and build the trust.
Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll be able to talk about how you guys actually found your footing here in Black Hills.
Sounds good.
Alrighty, man. We'll see you guys here in a minute. This episode is brought to you by Unique Signs Rapid City on 404 North St. Audge Street. They're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. The phone number is 343-4603. They do an awesome job with signs. They made me some stickers, and they helped me with my podcast sign. So if you guys come into the studio, you'll be able to check it out. They do a phenomenal job. They do vinyl wraps, like I said, stickers, big signs. If you have a business or you're coming out with something, get a hold of them. They help me out so much. So, Unique Signs, Rapid City, 343-4603. Thanks, Chris, for helping me out from Unique Signs. Just tell him the podcast sent you in. Here we go. Welcome back. All right. Yeah, I was going to ask you, I watched you guys actually grow, like from when you just opened up Nutrishop to getting a little involved in the community, like advertising and stuff like that. So I kind of watched that, and it was kind of cool. Like you do your own videos on supplements and stuff like that, and yeah, you kind of went out of your way to like, man, it was one of the first times I met you. You told me you had some good pre-workout because I found nothing but trash everywhere. So
yeah. I think one of the things that I really try to do is educate people on what they're getting and, what this can do, what that can do, so that you're not just. The thing is like you can get supplements anywhere. I mean, go to Amazon, you get everything you need.
Yeah.
The problem is that the education isn't there as to what really works, what can help you and whatever your goal is and stuff like that. So that's what we really try and change that about what we are, and not just be like a supplement.
Just sell it and go.
Just selling it and go. It's not,
Yep.
like a Walmart where you're just buying product and shoving you out the door and saying, can't wait till you come back and buy more stuff. I'm like,
yeah, that's good.
I want you to get results. And, that's why we always have people come and see us like every 2 weeks.
Straighten that mic out a little bit right there, right in front of you.
Right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like supplements are the gateway for sticking with you, like lifting and nutrition, like fitness, that whole aspect. It's it helps you, it gets you on a regimen. It also helps.
Right. Yeah. And I'm pretty open and honest with people. I'm like, there's supplements aren't going to solve the problem.
No,
they're not.
Food.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. But, if you're taking the right types of supplements at the right times, stuff like that, it can just make what you're doing more efficient. So if your goal is to lose fat, I'm like, you can't lose fat from a fat burner. I don't care who says what. I'm like, you're not going to lose fat from a fat burner. What it'll do is it'll help increase your caloric expenditure.
If you're on a caloric deficit.
Already, yeah, exactly. So it's going to make what you're doing more efficient, so you get better results from what you're doing already. So that's why we generally try and help people with like a meal plan, get them on the right step first, and show them, hey, these are the supplements that are actually going to speed along this process a little bit, make it easier for you, make sure you're maintaining as much muscle mass as possible, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. It's hard sticking on the right path of eating right. It's like, I figure, and I tell a lot of people this who are like, how do you stay somewhat fit? Well, as long as you're eating at home and you're making the food, it is 10 times better than going out and eating every day or 3-4 times a week. It's just make your food like from home, like, vegetables and all that, like whatever you're making at home is probably 10 times better than eating out, as long as you stay away from refined carbs and stuff like that too.
Right. Yeah.
That stuff is pretty bad.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of a way that I break it down is, just, and people have heard this probably 100 times, but if you eat more of the foods that are on the outer rim of a grocery store, that's all your whole food items. It's your whole vegetables, your potatoes, your maybe even a little bit of dairy, but your meats and all that kind of stuff, your fruits, stuff like that. That's whole food. And I say this like, everybody has their own view, but I'm like, that's what God made you to eat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything in the middle, it's generally man-made or altered in some way, shape, or form.
Like to be like if you're a natural, into fitness and you're natural, like that's the way to go. But if you're on TRT or testosterone, you can probably eat anything in your body is going to recover and then turn it. I mean, your body's going to be more anabolic if you're on TRT or testosterone. And a lot of guys around here that take that and are on it do not want to admit it because they themselves want to act like this is their body and this is how it's going. But that recovery rate is so high. They can bust the gym out really hard every single day.
Yeah.
And it's insane.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to get on because I mean it's like marijuana is becoming legal these days, and then dudes overloading on testosterone is becoming legal also. because it's like the new thing in fitness is getting on TRT and then not saying anything about it.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of them are like into that powerlifting and physique competition too. These because their body can just shred.
Yeah, right.
Quick.
And they have those anabolics, so their body will have a higher tendency to, hold on to more muscle mass and stuff like that. I always explain to people that when you start cutting calories, the first thing that your body really wants to do in an ideal situation, your body wants to get rid of muscle because muscle costs money in terms of energy. So that's what your body wants to get rid of. So you have to manipulate it through nutrition to hold on to more muscle mass, because muscle mass is what keeps your metabolism high and everything like that. So again, this is where, we start talking about the calorie in, calorie out. Well, I'm like, okay, well, if just reducing your calories is the only answer to losing body fat and maintaining muscle, then there is no reason to ever study nutrition. If that's the only thing that you need is just lower calories, again, there's just no reason to ever study nutrition. You don't need any help. You don't ever have to have the help of anyone. So that's kind of where we're like, there's certain tricks and tips that you can do with your nutrition that'll help you speed along the process and make it long term. Mm-hmm. So
if you crash diet, like a lot of people try keto and stuff, and they go hard on all this, and it just ends up failing. You can really mess up your hormonal balance in your body just by fluctuating. Like if you really don't know what you're doing, and you start cutting out your good cholesterols and your fats, that is going to start messing with your hormones.
Yeah, there's a reason the 80s happened, when the low-fat diets were a trend, and, we saw what happened. Everybody gained weight or they rebounded, You want to elaborate
for me? Because people probably won't believe in me, but, like, good fats and good cholesterols.
Yeah, and luckily I'm old enough to remember the 80s and early 90s. Let's be actually, Jesus, probably even longer than that. That fats were kind of like seen as the problem. But yeah, there's obviously a lot of different approaches to getting healthy and losing fat. And the funny thing is most people that I talk to consider what they're eating healthy. But there is a difference between just plain old eating healthy and eating for a specific purpose. Like you're trying to change your body composition, just eating whatever you eat now and cutting calories just might not be the most efficient way of doing it. Ketogenic diets, I have nothing against them at all. I think a lot of people consider them fad diets, but I'm like, you see in 20 years, keto will still be around. It's been around for a long time, and it's because it works. Like it's
medically proven.
Yeah, and people will say, but when you stop keto, you'll rebound. I'm like, well, same with every single diet on the planet.
Yep.
You will rebound if you just say, well, now I'm just going to start eating cheeseburgers every day. Like, well, low-calorie diet will do that. Low-fat diet will do that. Like, Mediterranean diet, seafood, all that stuff, it doesn't matter. If you start eating crap again, you're going to revert. So,
yeah, intermittent fasting is my favorite.
Okay, yeah. Yep. Definitely the new trend. And
I can't eat in the morning. It's just how my body works.
Okay.
Like I don't have an appetite in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I always go hit the gym in the morning, and I do not eat before I go lift. And it is not good to eat before you go lift. It stretches your stomach.
Yeah.
All the blood in your organs is right there. And then some people wonder why they throw up is because they eat, and then all the blood rushes everywhere else. Like if you have a heavy leg day or something, then they end up, that blood goes somewhere else and relaxes, and then there you go.
Get lightheaded and everything.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, there's definitely, like I said, for each one of us that's kind of, studies nutrition as their profession, there is a different approach, it seems like. You know, but you have to find what works for you, and not what works for one person does work for everybody else.
All body types are different.
Right, yeah. And, like the whole concept of carbs, whether it's good or bad, I'm like, well, that depends on your genetic makeup as well. Like, for instance, if you are from, say, Northern European descent, you generally do better genetically with a lower carb environment and a higher fat,
We're talking
moderate
about Caucasians or what?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, it will depend on where you're from. Like, I guess, you go back, thousands and thousands and thousands of years, there wasn't as much farming going on in those regions. They ate fruit when it was in season, but the rest of the time they didn't. So they ate a lot of, you talk about Norwegians and stuff like that. They ate fish, they ate blubber from whales. Like, they literally had a pretty high fat diet, moderate protein, and generally lower carb. But the closer your ancestry is to the equator, generally speaking, you can utilize carbs a little bit better. And there's a whole science to that stuff, but that's a little bit. I did
not know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's above my pay grade, as we say in the military.
So me being Mexican, I can be like, tortillas all the time.
Well, yeah, I guess it depends, it depends on how far back your, generations of being Mexican is, like is it like 500 years ago, and then the, rest of your descendants are from like Spain or something like that? I mean, that it'll all be different.
Oh,
so.
Well, Mexico was pretty much raped and pillaged by the Spaniards, and that's how we were created. So
right.
The Incas and the Aztecs were basically all raped by the Spaniards, so that's how the Mexicans got created.
Yeah.
So, yep.
So it's really hard for me to say this. That's why, you kind of have to experiment. Like, how does your body react to this stuff? And
mine, I'm 38. Mm-hmm. So even at 38, now my body's like, it started changing about 32, 33 years old. Like, it wasn't as easy for me to lose fat. But my food intake went down. Like, I wasn't as hungry. And now, all I can eat, like, to really keep a good appetite are carbs. Potatoes, tortillas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But basically, like eggs and, like, not the heavy foods. Not like everybody eats rice all the time. Mm-hmm. And steaks. Mm-hmm. I can't do it. Like, I get too... I don't know. I can't even eat a lot of that.
I guess you.
So the carbs helps out a lot.
Sure, yeah, and especially for someone like you that might have a hard time getting those calories in.
High metabolic rate, so I mean, the more I do eat, the more my body keeps burning also, so that's how that works out.
Yeah, and that's another thing that has to do with your body type and how long you've been your certain weight. So, like, if you've been, say, 250 pounds or something like that, but you've been that way for like 20 years, it can be much more difficult for your body to start moving in the right direction as to getting that weight down as compared to somebody who just became 250 like 2 years ago. Yeah. That plays a part in it too. So
yeah, once your body starts creating fat cells, like, they never leave, they just shrink up.
Yeah.
And then you'll forever have that. So when you get older, they'll start collecting water, and then they'll just collect fat.
Yeah.
And it's, people don't understand that, like, don't fluctuate a whole lot. Like, don't, like, get off and then think you're going to gain a bunch of muscle by eating a bunch of fatty stuff. Because once you start gaining fat, you're going to collect that fat in your body. And it's not going to leave easier when you get old. And we all get old.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But don't use it as an excuse is what I'll tell everybody. Don't use that as an excuse, because I've had people who told me, hey, your metabolism is going to slow down when you're 25. They'll say the same thing at 30, 35. I have people that are 15 years younger than me and saying well, I'm older now. I'm 25. I'm just like, oh my God.
You got to work harder.
Break, dude.
You just have to work harder.
You're 15 years younger than me. Don't give me that excuse, man. It's not age. It's a lifestyle thing. We got to change some things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
When I was creating this place, I was, working here every day trying to get this thing finished. And I didn't have any time to really hit the gym because I really didn't. And, like, carrying all this stuff and just doing all this, like, it was pretty taxing.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I need to go to the gym. I really can't wait. And now that it's all finished, I'm hitting the gym, and it is more mind clarity for me hitting the gym rather than being physical, doing all of this.
Yeah, man.
God, I love the gym, dude.
Yeah. It's a drug. It's a drug once you get, it can be difficult to start, where they talk about getting that habit. But once you get that habit, it becomes more than a habit. It becomes, like, fulfilling. You feel good.
How I tell some of my friends how it is that are getting into it and they want to stick with it. I tell them it's like hygiene for me. It's just like, putting on deodorant, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, It's like when you go to the gym, it's kind of like your hygiene, your regiment. You just don't feel right. You feel dirty if you don't do it.
Yeah.
So that's how it is for me. And it's just like, it's hygiene. So,
yeah, it's 100%. I get that 100%.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't feel as self-conscious anymore how I used to when I used to go to the gym and, like didn't put up as much weight and I don't look a certain way. It's not like that anymore. I do it now just for mental clarity and, keep my head right.
Yeah, definitely.
Get a little nuts if you don't.
Get
a little testy.
Yes, it can be definitely good mentally and physically. So yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep.
What you ever like in fitness like competed or anything?
No, I honestly haven't. So like a lot of times if somebody is like looking to compete, I can get them to a certain point, get them into single digits in body fat percentage. And then I generally would rather hand them off to somebody who's highly experienced in prepping for that specific thing. So that's what I would generally do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was 36 when I cut to do a physique competition. And then the ride I was supposed to have to Sioux Falls to take me to the, what's that one called? The Battle of the Falls.
Oh, yeah.
They kind of flaked out. And then I was blind, so I couldn't drive. And I still can't even drive, but
you got all that prep time done and everything?
It was all done, 3 months. And I was ready. I was so tight. But, I was probably sitting around 10. Yeah, 11, real low. And if I cut water, I would have looked like crazy, like exoskeleton.
Yep.
But it sucked because I lost the ride and stuff. And then all my friends were like, "Man, you should have let us know. We would have took you." And I was like, "Damn." It's like, yeah,
that is, and I know how much work that can be.
It is mentally. It was hard, like. Mentally more than anything. It was some crazy depression hit me too, like going through these withdrawals of foods, limiting the amount of carbs and fats and stuff, and then sugars out. So that was just insane. And it is crazy what your mind goes through,
Yeah, because your brain lives off of sugar, so that's one of the things that you go through when you start to go on a ketogenic diet or anything with it where you're starting to restrict carbs, is you're missing out on sugars, which your brain is it's basically works the same way as cocaine, and it gives you all these stimulant and stuff like that. So the stimulation. So when you cut that, you get a little bit of withdrawals and you get some symptoms from that.
You do, absolutely.
Yeah. But, you start realizing like, maybe this isn't so healthy that I'm having this stuff, and when I take it away, I have withdrawals. Well, then maybe that's not something you really need in your diet.
So hard to avoid, though. It's in everything.
It is in everything.
You name it, you go out, you get anything, food. It's everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
Pushed in front of your face. So hard.
It is, and it's kind of one of those things where it's what we've been taught our whole lives is, like. You go back to what, like, I think it's a USDA that would have, like how many servings of like whole grains you should have, and you go back to like
way at the beginning.
You go back to the food pyramid, and like at the beginning it was like an insane, like 12 servings of whole grains every day, and now they've slowly admitted over time that okay, that's a little bit excessive, and then it's becomes like 6 or 7 or whatever. But, you got to keep in mind that proteins and fats are essential to life. You remove either one of those, you have problems. And I always say that's why the 80s happened when we started reducing fat. You need fats for your, the membrane health of all your cells. You need it for hormone production. You need proteins for enzymes, everything.
Yeah.
Carbs are energy and stored energy. Doesn't mean that they're bad. You just have to know their place.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't say much when I'm talking to somebody who talks to me about what they're doing for diet, and usually 900% of the time it's keto, and they're like, stay away from potatoes, they're really bad for you and stuff. I'm like, dude, you can live literally off just potatoes and your body would be fine. it turns into so much, and it's not bad. Like, you're not gonna die from just eating a potato.
Yeah. There's nothing that's like, exactly. I don't really say that there's anything that's really bad. It just depends on, there's a time and place for everything.
Yeah. It's the things that actually go with that people put on potatoes that's bad. Like butter, salt, oil, that stuff is bad.
Yeah.
Really bad.
So yeah, like what we're learning more in nutrition is that it's not just the carbs and the fats, it's when they're combined is
right.
when it tends to
just
wreak
like
a little more havoc with
just
fat.
like sugars, like natural sugars, cane, not bad, unless you add like the sugars, or the artificial sugars, and then like the butters and the oils and all that stuff that gets thrown in like to a cookie. But
Right.
like natural sugars, I mean, they're not that horrible, like unless you just keep eating an abundance like a Coca-Cola or something. Those are all artificials anyway, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if it's just something that we haven't really I feel like we're still kind of learning. And exercise science, I remember Charles Poliquin saying that exercise science is like the catch-up science.
It is.
It's where we've learned stuff like 15 or 20 years ago, and then finally a scientific study comes out that proves what we kind of already knew. Not to take anything away from it or anything like that. It's just that we found trends before the science comes out proving that those trends are correct.
Yeah, men have been studied more than women. Like just basically what they call bikini science.
Okay.
For women has been studied, like breast cancer and stuff like that, and then the reproductive system, and that's like been the most studied on women, and then men everywhere from the hormones to dieting and all that has been scientifically studied. So now science is actually coming in, getting more understanding of how the woman's whole body works, which is, and it is a little quite a bit different than the man's, on how they hold everything and how they do things.
Yeah, how they react to like intermittent fasting is different than how men react to it, and
everything, every aspect is like you can't. Oh man, what was I watching? I was watching. I was listening to an Audible about women, and it's like all about fitness and stuff. And it's like they really don't have whole books on the women, how fitness is for them, completely different than a man's. Because they do, their sleep schedule is completely different. When they start having their monthlies, it's like how their body, like absolutely their hormones and stuff too.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's completely different than a guy.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that in evidence on our in-body machine, which is what we use to track people's body fat percentage, muscle mass, and all that kind of stuff. But that'll even be affected by a woman's hormonal cycle.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, if you were really looking at it really closely, you could see that in men too, which is kind of interesting as well. Like there's different times of the month where we produce certain things, and then we have higher levels of water retention and stuff, just like females. So it's, I mean, not maybe to the degree, but there is some science to that. So it's interesting.
Men have like a monthly too.
Yeah.
Something like that. I was talking to one of my friends, Kelly Shaw. She works at Rushmore Compound.
Okay.
Rushmore Compounding. And I had her on the podcast, and I was asking her about, like the difference men and women's hormones and stuff, and she was really educating me. And then I was like, is menopause a real thing? And she's like, absolutely, menopause is a real thing. Men go through menopause just like women do.
Okay.
But it's just got a cooler name.
Right. Yes. We got that. Yeah. Yeah. And maybe we can, not to get too sciencey on that stuff, is we might be able to offset that a little bit with our nutrition, and as far as how quickly that happens, when we start to how our testosterone lowers and stuff like that. The big thing right now is everybody now because of Netflix, everybody's going vegan. So
Oh yeah.
Then there's that kick. And there's a lot of stuff on that where you're kind of like, well, if you actually look at the studies behind that, that's not exactly what it said. Where they're comparing, one of the things that kind of came to mind was when they had the guys where I think they were checking their blood like within 2 hours of eating a bean burrito versus a beef burrito.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and they were showing like it looked like like the lipid profiles and stuff like that. I'm like, well, that's why you take those tests in a fasted state.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have like really low grade beef or whatever is in that burrito, and you have a bunch of junk fat in it, and you're combining it with a whole bunch of starchy carbs, low grade garbage carbs from a tortilla. Like, yeah, but who's gonna say that's the average American diet? Like, that's not what you should be comparing a vegan diet to, because
that's how they do that though. That's how they transfer people. Vegans are like religious in the food place. Like, if it's for a cause because they love animals and stuff like that, awesome.
100%.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But don't shove it in somebody's face, because that is just like religion. How they're like, this is you're gonna go to hell because you're eating animals and stuff. It's like, no, there's the carnivore diet also,
right?
That has been proven.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like more for. I mean, you do have to have more of a physical, lifestyle. I don't think. There is beef that does sit in your stomach.
Yeah. Going far off over to the carnivore diet, I haven't really. I've listened to plenty of people, through podcasts and stuff like that about the benefits of it and what they notice, but you still have to kind of find what works for you, and there's nothing wrong with, if you want to go a vegan or vegetarian diet, I think there is some health benefits to that too. But there is in a carnivore, there is in a keto, there is in this, but you can't just say, hey, this is the one and only way. Like there just isn't enough evidence to prove that there's one certain type of way of eating.
They're totally on a different side of the spectrum too, like the carnivore diet and then the vegan diet. Yeah. They're, black and white.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know. It's what they want to believe in.
Yeah.
That's just like West Coast and East Coast.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to one, look at the science and see if, what either side is saying is really validated. And then you also have to decide what really works for you. So you can experiment. So like, the Whole30 is a really popular thing right now. And,
oh yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I think, hey, that's actually kind of a cool idea, because you have time to test your body and see, well, what's it react to when I do this, when I introduce this, when I do this. The big thing is that you're losing, a good amount of weight usually in the 30, because you're eating whole foods.
Yeah.
The stuff God created for you.
Eat whole foods. That's just a basic knowledge for eating better.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you got, we got a little time left here.
All right.
This challenge that's going on. So it's already started.
Yeah. So, this is our kind of our kick the year off challenge. It's a Cancun Vacation Body Transformation Challenge. So it's a 9-week challenge where we test people's body fat pounds, body fat percentage, and muscle mass. So any of those going in the right direction, so that includes muscle mass increasing, earns you points. Mm. So instead of just, like I always say...
So you don't lose weight, but you gain more muscle mass?
Right, exactly.
Cool.
So I don't really care if you lose weight, because that's not really a really good indicator of whether or not you're getting healthy. Losing body fat and maintaining or growing muscle definitely is.
Yeah.
Changing that body composition, your body fat percentage, that is a proof of health improvement. So that's what we really encourage. And it's a really nice thing to teach people, like, hey, that weight scale, stop beating yourself up over that stupid weight scale in your bathroom. Get an in-body check and check it every 2 weeks, because we can check to see if you're actually progressing in the way that actually gets you healthy and you're not so disappointed and frustrated all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. And then the person at the end of the challenge, by the way, gets to choose to either go to Cabo for 8 days, 7 nights, or Cancun. So
a choice.
yeah, you get to choose.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's cool too, because then you're already bikini or board shorts, ready.
Yeah, you're ready for it.
So is it 2 or 1 person?
2.
2?
Yeah, you take you and a guest. Yeah. So it'll be your all your hotel there. So we don't include the flight, and if you want to upgrade certain things,
right?
But yeah, it'll be your hotel stay in Cancun or Cabo. So
cool, man.
Taken care of.
Right on.
Yeah.
And then when's it finish? March?
That'll be. I think the final check-in is like the first week of March.
Okay.
That'll be the final one, and then we'll start a new challenge to keep people motivated at the end of March, and we'll start another 9-week or 10-week challenge.
Let's see. I think we should probably maybe have the winner on sometime, see what they went through.
Yeah,
and tell us what they did, and see how it went.
Yeah, we can do that from even previous challenges too. We just finished the Wounded Warrior Project challenge that we had in November, December. So yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Hear what they did, just in case any of you guys out there want to, get an idea of how they actually killed it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, Gunnar, thanks for coming down, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
You got any specials going on?
No, I would
no
just
free
say,
stuff.
Yeah. Our whole thing is about helping people succeed at whatever they're trying to do. So we just would encourage people to stop on in, do an in-body check. Let's go over your nutrition. If you need a free meal plan, we help you out with that, get you off on the right foot. We'll set you up with the supplements we recommend based on what your goals are that we think can help you become more efficient at what your goals are, to reach them faster. And then just go from there. So we want to see you get results. And then you come and see me every 2 weeks, and we make sure what you're doing is working.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Gunnar.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Shop
Appreciate
local, veteran owned. We'll have you in next time for with the winners and see how they did it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, man.
Appreciate
Take care.
it. Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.